Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Stanisci of NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now, on NLL Lacrosse Talk, with my co-host Gary Groob. We have a guest on our show today who was a former owner of a sports bar, custom home builder, dreamt of owning a sports franchise as a young man, and he accomplished that feat in 2009. He bought the National Lacrosse League's Toronto Rock. Welcome to the show, Jamie Dawick.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Well, we always ask the first question, my favorite question when it comes to lacrosse, because it's such a family type thing, and it's a lifestyle really more than just a sport. How did you get involved?
Well, really, I mean, I grew up kind of just being a remote fan of the Toronto Rock when they first came around, and how I really got involved in the game was my kids started to play really young. Um, Lacrosse and soccer, I think, are the two sports that the kids can start playing at 3 years old or something like that. They're the youngest ones, and so they really started to get into that. And, it was a combination of that, knowing a few people that were playing in the NLL, things like that led me to where I am today.
The other thing is deciding to own the team. You got involved, and then you decided to own the team. I mentioned that you dreamt of it as a young man. How did that happen? How did you end up owning the team?
Well, I mean, I just always dreamt of, having a role in sports and maybe owning a team and this and that. And I don't know if it was specifically grew up wanting that to be the Toronto Rock or lacrosse per se, but it was just actually funny enough plays for me right now. But Dan Dawson at the time was and still is a friend of mine, and he just happened to got word that the team was for sale and reached out to me knowing that I might be interested in that. And, one thing leads to another. And next thing you know, I was the new owner of the team. So it's kind of funny how that all comes full circle. And he's now playing for us here, considering he was the one who kind of made that connection for me to purchase the team in the back in the beginning.
Now you need to be congratulated on this show. We congratulate you and notice how important, how central you are to the game of lacrosse in Southern Ontario. You have the track, which is your facility there, which is basically a vertical everything business in lacrosse, starting from the youngest to the very oldest that play. In fact, as Gary is very proud of, and I am too, of the tournament that you held during the pandemic, you really have created a lacrosse atmosphere there in Oakville.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. I mean, we truly believe that this is the best, lacrosse specific facility, not only in Canada, but maybe in the world. And I know it doesn't have the seating capacity for big events, but, that wasn't what it was about. And, we have kids. Yeah, we from the youngest ages all the way up, and there's a ton of good things going on here. We run a ton of programming out of here, and it's something that we're really proud of and proud to call our home as the Toronto Rock team. But just about the growth of the game of lacrosse in general.
Before I hand it over to Gary, in all honesty and in all fairness, you had to make a tough decision. You had to move the team from Toronto to Hamilton. Ironically, it was in Hamilton way back when. And nobody begrudges you the reasons. The reasons are very logical. It's all about those three words in real estate: location, location, location. Unfortunately, the location can be very expensive and not be cost effective. And you have to consider the franchise being long term. That's one thing nobody can deny as far as you're concerned. How important was it long term to move to Hamilton?
Well, I think it was very important, and there's just a ton of a ton of reasons that go into that, and a lot of stuff that people don't understand. And one example would be, I just sit back thinking about what would have happened with us this year if we were playing at Scotiabank Arena, with all those games being canceled, and the NHL and the NBA and the priority that those teams take, and stuff like that. I wonder what we would have been able to do to get through all that stuff. So, we feel like it was the right move for the franchise, both for the now and the long term. And you know, that's why we made the decision. And it wasn't an easy decision. It was new for us. We've played at Scotiabank ever since I bought the team, and we got a lot of fans on the other side of the city that we were worried about, and things. But we believe that they can get there, and it's accessible with all our Saturday night schedule, and things like that. And we had a great turnout for our first game. And then obviously we got into some restrictions, and we've had to play some games in empty buildings there for a little bit. But our next home game, we're going to have fans back in the building, and we're excited about what we're building there.
Yeah, you're not going to have anybody here questioning that decision and or being negative about it, because first of all, Gary likes to travel, so that doesn't affect him at all. And then of course I've got tons of Rock friends that have been following the team for a very long time. And Jamie, the one thing I heard them say that made me feel good about the move, I was concerned, I'll be honest with you, but a lot of them said to me, you know what, it's going to be cheaper to go to Hamilton. We could even stay in the hotel. You've got a business there in the shadow of the stadium that's hungry for business, and there's some good opportunities for, let me say, customers, not just yours, but the ones that you bring there, for the new downtown core in Hamilton. So a lot of them are once they started, figuring it out and actually going through the process of actually doing it, all I've heard are good things about people going there. And Rock fans are like lacrosse people, period. Jamie, that they're really family oriented. They consider themselves part of the family. And because of you and owners like you and the league itself, you allow the interaction directly with the fans. So there's this real familial relationship that's there. So I think you were given a chance, I think, right, to be able to prove that this was a good idea and it worked for you.
Yeah, I think the support's been great, and I think you talk about that, and I think about the first game we played in Hamilton, and just the area was buzzing, and all the restaurants were full, and people were, and yeah, it's cheaper for everyone. It is cheaper for people to, park in Hamilton, drink in Hamilton, eat in Hamilton, all those things, and I just think it fits our demographic a little bit better, and we feel like it's our home now, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, I think the irony too is you've gone to Hamilton. Your sport has a symbiotic relationship with the Canadian Football League. Many of your fans are Hamilton Tiger Cat fans and Toronto Argonaut fans. I can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Gary, over to you, buddy.
Sure. Now I want to go back to when you first purchased the team back 2009. Now, they say timing is everything. Now, you're talking about a franchise that had won 5 championships. It actually hit its peak, and I was on the way downward. Had a couple of bad seasons. The fan base starting to dwindle. You picked it up and made an immediate splash. Right away, you picked up Troy Cordingley. You picked up Terry Sanderson and started rebuilding. Let's go through those days. Those are exciting times to bring that Rock team right back to where it was.
Well, it was, and I mean, that started with Terry Sanderson and Troy Cordingley, and and really getting Colin back. The Rock was a powerhouse in the league, and then they traded Colin, and they kind of went through 3 down years, as I'm sure you'll remember, Gary, and it wasn't. To me, couldn't happen. The franchise was too good to let that happen to it. And, I think they got away from, what it took to win for whatever reason. So, Terry came in there and had an immediate impact with the roster, and we were competitive right out of the hop, which was huge. And he built the foundation there, and Troy did a good job too, and everything out of the gate actually worked very well. So
You drafted well as well. You picked up Steph LeBlanc, Garrett Billings, all really, really great pieces to building up. And in your first year, in my opinion, you should have won the championship in 2010. And
we blew that game. I mean, in my opinion, we were up. I think we were up 4. Gave up an empty netter at the end of the third, and just fell apart. I felt like we should have won that one for sure. And we obviously didn't, and came back the following year and got it done.
And the rest, I should say, is history, because this team has been competitive every single year since then. And that's a testament to both.
Yeah, we had that 1 year that the year after we went to the finals and lost. We came back the following year, and we basically just got decimated with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for us, it's the 1 year we had our draft pick, and we had the second pick in the draft, and we end up drafting Challen, who is now the captain of our team and the leader of our team. But other than that 1 year, we've kind of felt like we're fighting for it every year, and we had some success early, and you think, okay, we're going to get back here all the time. But as the years go by, you realize how hard it is, no matter how good your team is, truly how hard it is to kind of get back to that championship game and then win it.
Mm-hmm. Now I want to talk a little bit about Terry. Terry meant a whole lot to the franchise, more than just as a GM, but as a person and as a good friend to you. And more or less, he taught you everything about this business, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I didn't know Terry personally when he came to work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Worked very closely with him, letting him be the GM and just kind of working with him on everything. And, he taught me a lot about that. We became obviously very close friends, and, I don't want to say a father figure, even though him and my dad were about the same age, but he was more of a friend to me, and we just became really close, and he laid such a good foundation, the Terry's pillars of how he was and the way he was and the way he believed the franchise should be operated were, installed from day one when I bought the team. And, they were all things that I believed in and still do to this day. And, he laid that foundation for the first 5 years there, and then unfortunately, was taken from us. But it's something to this day, that we still kind of abide by all the same foundational, of the franchise, and we continue that.
Now with track, like Frank had talked about how much you've had in the helping of building Ontario lacrosse. I would go a little further, because you've had your hand in all kinds of things with the NLL as well, being part of the last collective bargaining agreement. Are you part of this collective bargaining agreement as well?
I'm not on that committee with the league, but the board is all involved kind of in that stuff, and we all communicate about that and give our input on those things, and do what we can do to make those things happen. So I'm not involved on it on a close upfront basis, but familiar. They keep us in the loop of what's going on there.
You're a partner after all.
There you go.
No, to fill up the track, also you purchased the Oakville Rock, and for the summertime, it's like a carbon copy of the Toronto Rock, is it not?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of crossover between the two teams, but that goes kind of back to my philosophies and my foundation, just the way we want to run the teams, and who we want involved in those teams, and a lot of our Toronto Rock players play in that league in the summer and play in so it makes sense for us to have those guys playing with us here. And we have a great young team in that league, and it's a totally different ball game from the winter for me. Summer, winter, and how they all work and run. But it's something that, when the NLL season ends and we turn the page on that, it's something that we obviously are involved in the summer, and keeps professional, semi-pro in that sense, but keeps that going on in here pretty well year round.
You speak to that, expand on that for us. We've learned here doing the program how 12 months of the year is a lacrosse season. And as an owner and as a guy as deeply as involved as you are in lacrosse, speak to the transition for players to go from team to team. They're teammates, they're against each other. How does that play out as a guy that's in deep? It's different than many other sports, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want my opinion, I don't like it. I don't think professional guys, especially ones with experience in the NLL, should be allowed to play in that summer league. It doesn't make sense. The PLL is a little different, field league, but it's very political and this and that, and I don't know. It's just the way it is, but it's definitely weird. Another reason for me being involved, that I like to keep my all my players in house with me, and not playing on other teams for the most part, and whatever that any of those guys playing in major series in the summer in Ontario, we want them pretty well playing on Oakville. And we do have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of guys playing on other teams, and it's one of the weird things about our sport. You play with this guy in the winter, this guy in the summer, and you're good buddies, and then you got to go out there and do whatever you can to win a game, and hate them, for lack of a better term.
No,
but
it's true.
It goes on for sure. And the winter season's long, you spend more time together, and I think you develop a little bit more hatred in that, and then the summer rolls around, and now you start to cross paths with other guys, before you kind of branch off into your winter team again and kind of separate for the season.
Yeah, you offer a little bit of opportunity as well for some of your players to actually work for you, so they have an opportunity to make a little bit of income. I know they're not getting rich or anything like that, but it helps keep them in house too. Because of the big thing that is lacrosse at the track, there's a lot of opportunity there, right?
Yeah, well, I have a couple, like there's with owning the building and run all the programming that we run in here and stuff. There are jobs that go with that, and there's certain players on my teams that have regular jobs in this building, so that keeps them around here all the time, and be it from Rosie, who is a general manager for the facility, to a guy like Challen, who basically runs all our rock development league and all our programming there, and there's a lot more guys too, but the facility creates a lot of jobs, which is good for those guys to be able to do that and juggle playing and doing all those things. So it's fortunate for me that I have those players to be able to do some of those stuff, and especially in the league roles and coaching roles and things like that, because if I didn't have access to those players, I still need coaches to be able to do that stuff. And those coaches aren't going to be, with all due respect, of the same caliber as those players and that are playing right now in that with the kids. So it's great for me as well that way, because you need all those positions too, right?
Absolutely. No, the symbiosis is recognizable immediately. They work together. Everything works together, and I don't want to use this word, but I'll use it because it's the only easy word I can come up with right now. It's like you can double dip too. You can pay a guy to have a job, but also he'll have time to coach, and he doesn't have to travel to go coach. He can go from doing what his job is. I'm sure you have that kind of circumstance. So it really is a bit of a family atmosphere. You're a businessman. You've made it very clear here, and you don't you don't buy you don't play around with words. You're pretty straightforward. You have your interests, and your interests are there because you have a large overall interest in the game itself. I even asked the commissioner, I said, well, what do you think now that Jamie's moved the team to Hamilton? Can we move one to Peterborough? He shut me down so fast, I hardly had a chance to get that question out, Jamie. So if I can lead by talking about the commissioner, from the time we've been doing this show, when the commissioner came in, he was very silent in the first couple of years. And I mean, he was silent in the first couple of years. He really did get the lay of the land. How impressed are you with the progress in the National Lacrosse League, and how much of it can you give the commissioner credit for?
Well, Nick's done a good job and help us get to where we are today, and that was what he's brought in to do, and I think he's succeeded at that. So, listen, I mean, the reality of it is, at the end of the day, a lot of things are driven by the board, and in a league like this, and that's how it is. But it's been a collaborative effort, and I would say over the 5+ years that he's been involved, we've definitely made a lot of strides.
Well, you've made a lot of progress during a pandemic as well, which a lot of other leagues can't claim.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, we didn't play for 2 years almost, so we
Well,
went
that's a
away
no
in
you
the.
can't help, Jamie. That's not anybody's fault, right? That's just the way life goes. But the
Well, I
business
mean,
plan has been strong.
we're making progress.
Well, now with the TV deals and things like that, the social media platforms, at least it doesn't come out of your pocket per se, as you had to pay to get the games on in the first couple of years that you took over the team. Where do you see this going in the next 5 years or so? Do you think that he's going to be able to make this into a full-time league?
Well, I mean, I think that's the hope eventually. I don't know if that's going to happen in the next 5 years or not. There's just we're things look good and things are headed in the right direction, but a lot of these things take time, and and there's a lot more to a lot of things than might seem like it is on the outside, and but we've made great progress, and we just need time now to prove things to certain people, and we need to continue to have. This is a gate driven league, and we're coming out of a pandemic, and even in the United States, teams have struggled with attendance coming out of this, and so it's not, things aren't going to change overnight. It's about the plan and the process, and continuing to make strides, and all those things lead to bigger and better things, and I think we'd like to get there one day. I don't really put a timeline on it. Lots needs to change, and we need to continue to, hopefully continue to go down the path we're going, and better.
Yeah, there's different ways to get there as well, right? You have owners like yourself that are, basically doing it on your own. Then you have some franchise like Calgary and Colorado that have NHL connections. There's not one way to skin this cat, right?
No, our league's very unique in that that there, all the there's a wide variety of ownership in this league, and there are, there's the Pagulas who own NFL teams and NHL teams, and and then there's people like myself, like the John Arlotta's, like the Kurt Steyers. So it's a wide variety, but I think that makes us unique, and I think we have a very diverse, good kind of mix of people on that board, the ownership.
it's a good thing. I guess it can be a challenge as well because your frame of reference for as far as your business plan is concerned might have different approaches. So it's a bit of a challenge where the board has to really do a lot of communicating. It sounds like you guys do. You people, you.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do. We could do more, I think. But everyone does have a lot of things going on and this and that. But I think communication is key, in my opinion, and so the more you can do that, the better.
Now, I remember us. We were talking in an airport in Saskatchewan just before the lockdown, and the team was just coming into its own. It had a big win that weekend, and you were excited about your next few games are at home and everybody's healthy, and the mixture of that team of veteran leadership, a bunch of youth, and everything was kind of clicking. And fast forward it now to this year, and I think he even took it a step further, still with the veteran leadership and some terrific young players. And now you've got a face-off guy that, for the first time that I can remember as a consistent thing here, with TD Ireland. That's a fantastic draft pick.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, listen, we were excited about our team when we went into the COVID shutdown, and we made a couple deals over there. We've got a couple years worth of draft picks, and while we didn't have high picks, we've looking back on it a little bit later here, we've found some pieces for sure, and we're real as we sit here today. We didn't start the season the way we wanted to, and we dealt with a lot of COVID things and sporadic offensive guys being in and out of the lineup because of it. And, we seem to got everyone back here and starting to get a little bit healthy, even though we have a couple injuries, and just seem to kind of be finding our groove right now. So, our expectations are probably no different than when we talked that day in the airport. The team's pretty similar, but yeah, some youth injected out of necessity, and they've done a good job. So we're excited about the future.
Yeah, and just for the sake of the fans who may not know, you're not an owner who interferes with the GM. You just take the job, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, well, you know what? Funny enough, I was an owner that. Now, while T and I had that relationship and we talked about everything, I mean, when I hired T to be the GM, he was the GM. And if I was the best guy to do that job, I wouldn't have hired him. So, with when he did pass, there wasn't the right fit at the time. And it's just kind of morphed into something that's become something I just do now. It's probably like 6 years later now or something like that. I can't even put a timeline on it, but it is what it is, and I just kind of follow what he taught me and go that route.
Yeah, you're not an owner that bought a team and learned the game after you bought the team and then decided you're a GM. You've been involved in lacrosse long enough, so we don't want any misunderstanding there. Do both jobs interfere with the other? If assuming that one side of your brain is the GM, the other side's the owner, are there ever any arguments that you can share with us?
No, not really. I mean, no, not really. I mean, listen, our mentality around here, as far as the team on the floor goes, is to put the best team together, to be able to compete for championships year after year. And that's how we operate the team. And then, a lot of our stuff's kind of dictated by bylaws and rules and this and that. But, no issues there. Those two get along pretty well.
That's good.
This league also has a different thing too, is that because it's a part-time league, sometimes you have to take in consideration where guys are working, where they're living, and trying to accommodate that way.
Yeah, that's a huge factor in our league. We practice midweek. All our guys generally live in Market. Now that's not the case right now. Kind of changed a little bit when we signed Tommy. And obviously he doesn't live up here, and Reed right now is out in BC, and but generally speaking, to play for us, you gotta live here, and that's worked out fine. Most of the guys in our league, are Canadian, and then come from the Ontario area, so there's no shortage. We're the last team that can complain about shortage of players that live in our area. So, we're very fortunate in that. And, those guys get to play in front of their family and friends, and they're here, around the clock.
Yeah, it's difficult to, if I can address the players who do have to work for a living as well. The economy is such in the National Lacrosse League that you can't afford to pay players $20 million a year contracts, so they have to find employment. I find, as an owner, how happy are you to help these players? Obviously, you got a couple of players that don't live in this market, and how happy are you to help them? And is it much of a challenge other than the couple that you have? If you can highlight for us what the challenge is. I mean, the obvious is if they're not in town, they can't practice all the time.
Right.
What other challenges
For
are
us, I mean, the biggest things, well, the challenge is the flying. I mean, so those guys, I mean, they don't practice with us on most weeks on a Tuesday night, which is when we practice. And then, the flying in and out for every game. Like we only fly 6 times in a year as a team, but those guys, that are living out of market are getting on a plane every weekend, home games as well. And I think the wear and tear of that, and, the longer the flight and the more travel you do, I think the tougher it is for you to, be at your best. And it's a challenge. And, a lot of players deal with it, but, if you have the option to go one way or another, I think the one way is obviously a lot better than the other. So, but you deal with it. It's part of our league. And once again, I'm the last guy to complain about that. There's teams that have no one live in market, and those guys are traveling every weekend. So, I'm very fortunate in that situation.
Yeah, it underlines the fact that these players are important to you. If they're out of market, they mean a lot to you. So I'm sure they feel that way as well.
Well, absolutely, because we're not just flying, let's say Eddie Wood. I mean, we fly Tobin, and he's obviously a very special person to our franchise and to this league. And, Reed's a guy that, was with our team and lived here before, and his job and his fiance's led him back to BC. And, he comes out and spends extended periods of time out here. 10-day spurts, gets a couple home games in, gets a couple games in, a couple practices, things like that. So, it's all, these guys commit to us just as much as we commit to them. And, back to, character people and character players, and, what we look for in a franchise.
Little silver lining, Hamilton's closer to Buffalo and Rochester.
There you go. Yes, sir.
No, I remember Scott Comedy when he was on our show. He talked about it driving in from Nipissing when he was in college there, just to make the practices. So yeah, it is quite a bit of good character players, and the Rock have always had character players there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Yeah,
go.
Mm-hmm. No, I want to changing it up a bit. I want to talk a little bit about your kids, and they're all heading in the right direction of becoming professional lacrosse players. Josh at the University of Denver, he's just tearing it up now, isn't he?
Was actually unfortunately tearing up his knee. He tore up his knee this summer, back in the summer, playing in that junior A season. So he's actually not playing this year, but this is his, 4th year at school there, and he will graduate from school this year. So, draft eligible in the NLL next year. So, yeah, he's not playing right now, but
he will be.
He's getting back. Yep.
Is there any scholarship for him going to college?
Yeah, he's down there involved in that, and it's been good for him, and he's about to graduate, and it's been a good experience.
Yeah, the sport's pretty good in the U.S. as far as colleges are concerned. Well, they're colleges.
Yeah, I
and
have another
universities.
son. My youngest, so my middle son's at McGill, and unfortunately, their season got canceled this year with everything going on in Quebec
Right.
and Canada and all that. So they didn't play this year. They'll be back next year. And then my youngest guy, Jakey, is at his first year at Lehigh down in Pennsylvania, and
Wow.
so yeah, they're all doing well, and all out of the house now. So it's a little different around here.
Well, it's been fun watching them grow up since I sit right next to them, and from the time they
Yeah,
were
the high.
little, watching them go
the
right
high.
up.
Yeah, you're their high five buddy for
That's me.
years. So it's been you've seen them. I look at the photo I have of them with the championship cup. Obviously just over 10 years ago, and they're so young, and now they're 21, 19, and 18, and it's just like, wow, that was a long time. It seems like a long time ago, and you've seen them grow up that whole time yourself.
Yeah, and it's amazing, and watching them develop and mature into the roles that they're going to be taking, and knowledgeable right from when they're young onward. So I think they're going to be great assets wherever they wind up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And they get to be immersed in a culture that is family driven, I guess. How's the wife like what you do?
Well, she's on board. I mean, obviously, she was a very involved mother with everything that went on with our kids, and with our kids playing so much and being so involved in that. She's been involved, very heavily involved in the game of lacrosse. She loves the game. I'm very supportive of what I do, and that's great. Everything's great there.
And one of your main sponsors is a home builder, fire and water restoration, Backley.
Yeah.
He's out of Oakville
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
He's been with you from day one.
Yeah, he has been with me from day one. He built the track. I've known Scott for a while, and he's a great guy and a great partner of the Rock and a great supporter. And they have been around since day one. So we appreciate our relationship with them.
Yeah, his sons are a little older than yours, right?
Yes, his kids are a little older than mine. They didn't. His kids didn't play lacrosse. They were hockey kids, I believe.
Yeah, I helped build his house in Oakville.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I helped build his house there in Oakville. Yeah, got to know his wife and he and his sons, and I think he has a daughter too, right? There's 3 kids.
Yes, he does.
If I remember right. Yeah. Yeah, no, your relationships are very long term, and I blame that on lacrosse. It's a very loyal group of people. You can have your fights, you can have your disagreements. Like you said, you can play in the summer with one guy and beat the crap out of him in the winter, right? Play with him in the summer, beat the crap out of him in the winter, and there's such a tightness to lacrosse. Whenever something bad happens in the lacrosse community, like Sanderson. We all hear about it. We all care about it, and everybody pulls together on that. How does that feel? Is that something that? Well, give us your words on the tight knit nature of the people in lacrosse.
Well, it is. It's a very, obviously, because of the size of the, let's say, the lacrosse community, you have the opportunity, I think, to be a tighter knit community, and yeah, I mean, you see that whenever there's. Unfortunately, especially when there's tragedies or something like that, you really see, everyone come together, and it is great. I love, and Gary knows this. Like, I just everyone seems like family, at least with the Rock. Like, our fans are our family, and they're part of the bigger picture and the team, and we look at them like that. And I love the opportunity to get out there and say hi to people and meet people, and it's exciting. Like, that's what I'm all about.
Now, stepping away from the game, go to get a little bit of relaxation. you play professional poker. Just a nice, relaxing little side
Oh,
thing.
really?
Well, listen, I mean, that whole thing was that whole thing's a little blown out of proportion. I say to people all the time, like, to me, if you're a professional poker player, you make a living off of it and you support your family and everything you do off of that. And that's not the case. I've played in a ton of events, big events, World Series of Poker, things like that. But, to call myself a professional poker player, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I'm a guy that showed up and paid big money to play in events. Yes.
Right.
And, anyone could do that.
The buy-ins are big too. We're talking 10 and 20 grand.
Yeah, I've played in some big ones. I mean, I played in the main event, the World Series of Poker, is $10,000 buy-in, and I played in that 10 or so a ton of times, really, and had some success, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, there's all sorts of ranging ones where those numbers can vary from little to a lot.
Yeah, how important is I haven't heard much about it. Is gambling ever going to have any kind of traction? No pun intended with traction with lacrosse.
Well, there's a
You
lot of
see it?
stuff right
Well, you have
now
to move
like
to
that.
Canada.
There's a lot of stuff up here, in different things. The league has some partnerships, I believe, with BetMGM and like we have the Toronto Rock have a big partnership with Coolbet up here in Toronto, and they're a huge partner of ours. They're our jersey logo. They're on our jersey and all that, and I don't know who's driving these lines and this and that, but you can, you see that popping up right now all over the place, and I think it'll only get bigger.
Do you see it actually being impactful long term and important for you guys and how you function and maybe helping the players get paid? That kind of advantage. I know I already understand you're
Well, I don't
very
really see
conservative.
it. Honestly, I don't see it like that for
Yeah.
us. I see it as, people like to gamble on sports, and it hopefully drives more people to watching our games and following along and doing their thing there. But I don't, there's no financial component really to the league based on what people are gambling and stuff like that. So it doesn't really impact it in that way.
But every league, it seems, has to at least dip their toe and throw the line in there just to be not left behind, because it's one of the ways that, at least big leagues, it is there's a stream of money there that they can access. I understand what you're saying, though. It isn't at that point with you guys yet, but you're there ready if it happens. You're in the starting blocks, right? You may not be benefiting from it, but
Well, we're
you're
not
in there.
running. I mean, we're not running sports books or anything. We have some partnerships with some sports books, both on like a team level and a league level. But those are more sponsorship marketing partnerships than
Right.
anything to do with the amount of money being bet on any NLL games or things like that.
Yeah, because the CFL, this, and not to change the topic or the subject or the sport, the CFL just entered into an agreement with a sports betting group, and they're basically they're in a partnership, and they're going to share the profits. That's why I asked that question. You guys aren't there yet, obviously, but that's neither here or there. As far as financial streams are concerned, you've got a much better TV deal and better access to new fans. Gary's pet peeve, and I always hear it in my head starts to hurt when he talks about, we got to have it on major TV, man. If it isn't on major TV, the game's not going to grow. How do you feel how important TSN is and ESPN to be in it?
Well, it's huge, and Gary's right, because while being behind a paywall with a digital provider to access all the games, that's great and all for all of us diehard fans that want to do that. But you're not going to get that in front of new fans. And what this league and me and everyone needs to do is continue to grow that fan base, and without being on a linear, like, now on the weekend, people can be flipping around looking, what the sports person that goes to TSN to see what's on and now bumps into a lacrosse game every week, hopefully leads them to wanting to follow, maybe going to a game in their market and things like that. So it is very important. And, I think to start, I did my thing with TSN back in the day, and I know how they feel about the NLL and the game of lacrosse. So I'm excited about the future of that.
Well, one of the things I noticed was even when it was on the just on a social app, I'd be in a bar and I would have it on my phone or a tablet. And before I knew it, I had 5 or 6 people over my shoulders watching it. Now a bartender can just put TSN on and leave it, and sure enough, the game will be on there. And unbelievably, how many people just go and watch. So that kind of magnetism is what I've been saying for years, and it's finally come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, it's so entertaining, right? Like, you just got to get it up there. And I've never heard anyone say they didn't enjoy it or they don't like the game. It's just a matter of getting them in front of it, and they're going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my favorite saying for one of your fan group's rock roadies, Jared Harris. His favorite saying is, "You pay for the whole seat, but you only need to use the edge."
If
I
the
like
seat at all.
it. Jared knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, because even with the Rock in its heyday, when it was sitting on the Score, when it was sitting on Sportsnet, it had that buzz in the city, and I think that buzz is starting to come back now. It's got a ways to go, but I think that we're finally in that right trajectory.
Yeah, I hope so. And like I said earlier, all these things take time, right? So, game of the week now on TSN, that's the first step. We'll see where it goes from there, and hopefully we can build on that. But it's not going to happen overnight. But it's got to continue to, with a process and a plan, and get where you want to be eventually.
Well, you're in a better place with TSN now because you have more Canadian. You have more Canadian teams now, which from a TSN perspective is helpful.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and that's 100% correct.
And lacrosse is doing something that I wish for the Canadian Football League. You actually have a league that goes coast to coast in Canada.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, Halifax has been a great addition, and hopefully we can add 1 or 2 more, at least here in Canada, in the not so distant future. That would be, what I'd like to see happen. So time will tell. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, getting back with the team this year, you have Brandon Miller back as one of your coaches, and it seems to be paying dividends right away. Him and Nick Rose had a really good relationship when they were backup and starter. Now, again, as coach and player, it really looks like Nick has found his groove.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's been great. I mean, he was actually with us as a goalie coach before he left and went back to Philly there. But back there, and he's just been working with Nick, and Nick didn't start the season the way he probably wanted to, and they've just been focused on a bunch of things, and Brandon's been a big part of that. But Nick's kind of found his groove here over the last 3-4 games, and playing more like the Nick Rose that we expect. So, we're real happy with what we're getting out of there, and Brandon's done a real good job as a goaltender coach.
And Brandon's got a big hand in Troy and Riley as well, your backups.
Absolutely. All of them. He's great. He's great, fits in great with the rest of our coaching staff, and we love having him around.
Now, you also added Rusty Kruger this year, and we've had Rusty on the show before too. Great guy, former Rock player, spent a bunch of time on the bench in Buffalo. How different is it having Rusty there taking over for Blaine?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not on the bench or this and that. So, I think we run a lot of the same philosophies. Rusty's been a great addition for us, though. It's been kind of like a seamless transition, to be honest with you. He's very close and familiar with our coaching staff, and and everything's been really smooth. And he came into a team that's been used to doing something one way for a while, and he's done a great job so far, and a great addition to our we were sorry to see Blaine go, and but at the same time, Rusty stepped in and kind of made that, like I said, made it kind of seem seamless for me personally.
Right.
And everything's worked out real well there.
Is there something we haven't touched? We've got 5 minutes left. If there's something that you feel you want the fans to know, lacrosse fans and fans who maybe don't follow lacrosse and are just tuning in here, curious about what the owner of the Toronto Rock is saying that you have to say?
Well, I just say, as far as like the game of lacrosse, like check it out. We're now on TSN. We whether it's us or someone else, it's a Canadian matchup, game of the week. Go check out a game in your market. It's 2 hours of the most entertaining sport out there. And while these players aren't, $1 million athletes like other professional leagues and this and that, they're every bit the professional athlete and put on the same, entertainment value as any of them. And I would argue even better than some. So check it out. It's a great game. Everyone that does falls in love with it, and it's that's what I got for you.
Well, Jamie, I go back to the 80s doing play-by-play for lacrosse for the Toronto Beaches. So I had an introduction to lacrosse a very long time ago. And Birchmount
All right,
Arena.
well, one of my sons played for the Beaches for a few years there. So
yeah,
I guess
they practice they practice at the outdoor rink in the summer.
Not anymore, but yeah. No. Now they go in the sweat box at Ted Reeves that it is, I guess. But
yeah, they're all sweat boxes in the summer.
Not the track.
No,
not the track. Oh, okay, sorry. I want to make sure people understand. You don't sweat at the track. It's awesome. and besides, if anybody gets a chance to go there, I haven't had a chance to go there. I moved up to Wasaga Beach. I'm quite a clip away from you now. I've never had a chance. I lived around the corner, like I told you. I lived basically on the border of Mississauga and Oakville, but it wasn't there when I was there. So, that's one thing I'd like to see one day. Come check out the track. I hear so many good things from Gary.
Well, now that you have
we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you down here sometime. I've got a place up in Collingwood there, so I'm familiar with where you are. But yeah, anytime you're down in this neck of the woods, love to have you by. Say hi, give you a tour of the locker room here and everything, and go from there.
Absolutely, I look forward to it.
Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time with us. It's been absolutely spectacular. I wish all the luck in the world and all the best in the world. And looking forward to March 5th when we can actually get back inside an arena.
How good is that going to be, Gary? We missed you all being there, screaming, supporting us. We know you're doing it from afar, but we've missed you. Can't wait to get you back there. Hopefully we can get a couple more wins here before we see you guys there, and appreciate you guys having me and doing this.
It's our pleasure, and I'd just like to add about the in-stadium experience. It's one of the only sports that plays music while the game's going on. There's a real energy there. It's a whole different vibe at a lacrosse game than it is at any other sport.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, and I agree with you on that totally.
Well, Jamie Dawick, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I'll add that to Gary's thank you. We really appreciate you being here, taking the time to join us here on this streaming podcast.
Guys, I appreciate it. You take care, and we'll see you soon. Talk to you soon.
Safe driving.
Take care.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you. That was awesome, Gary.
Absolutely. I would pull him the savior of Toronto lacrosse, really, because with all the ideas and all the extra things that he's done, and the future is really, really bright for this organization. You got great players. It's a great atmosphere. It's a great family ambiance in there, and I think anybody who's playing for them is really, really lucky. It's a tremendous organization.
His business his business plan is multi-layered, right? He
Mhm.
doesn't need any one part of it to be very successful, as long as all the parts are successful to a degree. The rock
Exactly.
is safe, the track is safe. It's all, he's very committed to the game, and I think all lacrosse fans know that. I know a lot of the people up, as far as managing lacrosse are concerned, are even a little envious about what he's created in that little spot in Oakville.
Yeah, watch more of these type of arenas pop up in the U.S. now that they've seen that this blueprint works, because
Uh,
he took a chance and it worked and it's spectacular. And if you are in the area, you got to go take a look at it. It is phenomenal.
well, Gary, thanks again for another great NLL Lacrosse Talk show. Much appreciated.
My pleasure as always, Frank. It's a pleasure doing a show with you.
He's the star, and I'm the grunt, Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Lacrosse Talk, NLL style news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next Thursday.